So a crisis, insoluble problem, major crisis. Both stepmothers want their names on the wedding invitation. Catherine adores her stepmother, who more or less brought her up. She wants her name on the invitation. She wants it, and her stepmother is not anticipating not appearing next to Catherine's father, which is understandable since the mother is dead, whereas my stepmother, it's out of the question her name should appear on the invitation. But my father won't have his name on it if hers isn't, unless Catherine's stepmother's is left off, which is completely unacceptable. I finally suggested none of the parents' names should be on the invitation. After all, we're not adolescents. We can invite people to the wedding ourselves. So Catherine screamed her head off at me, arguing that that would be a slap in the face to her parents, who were paying through the nose for the reception, and particularly for her stepmother, who'd gone to so much trouble when she wasn't even her daughter. So I finally let myself be persuaded, totally against my better judgment, because she wore me down. I finally agreed that my stepmother, whom I detest, who's a complete bitch, will have her name on the invitation. So I telephone my mother to warn her. Mother, I say, I've done everything I can to avoid this, but we have absolutely no choice. Colette's name has to be on the invitation. She said, if Colette's name is on the invitation, take mine off it. Mother, I said, please, I beg you, don't make this even more difficult. And she said, how dare you suggest my name is left to float around the card on its own as if I was some abandoned woman below Colette, who hangs on to your father's name like a limpet. Mother, I said, please, I beg you, I've got friends waiting for me. I'm going to hang out and we'll discuss all this tomorrow after a good night's sleep. She said, why am I always an afterthought? What are you talking about, Mother? You're not always an afterthought. Of course I am. And when you say don't make things even more difficult, what you mean is everything's already been decided. Everything's been organized without me. Everything's been cooked up behind my back. Good old Nadia, she'll agree to anything. And all this, get this, she said, in aid of an event, the importance of I'm having some trouble grasping. Mother, I've got friends waiting for me. Yes, that's right. There's always something more important to do. Anything's more important than I am. Goodbye. And she hung up. Catherine, who was next to me, but who hadn't heard her side of the conversation, said, what did she say? I said, she just doesn't want her name on the invitation with Colette, which is understandable. I'm not talking about that. What did she say about the wedding? Nothing. You're lying. I'm not Kathy. I promise you. She just doesn't want her name on the invitation with Colette. Call her back and tell her when your son's getting married, you rise above your vanity. You can say the same thing to your stepmother. That's got nothing to do with it, Catherine shouted. It's not me. I'm the one who's insisting her name's on the invitation. It's not her. She's tact personified. If she had any idea of the problem this was causing, she'd be down on her knees begging for her name to be taken off the invitation. Now call your mother. So, I call her again. Catherine's listening on the extension. Yvonne, my mother said, for now, you've conducted your affairs in the most chaotic way imaginable. And just because out of the blue you've decided to embark on matrimony, I find myself obliged to spend all afternoon and evening with your father, a man I haven't seen in 17 years, and to whom I was not expecting to have to reveal my hip size and my puffy cheeks. Not to mention Colette, who, incidentally, I may tell you, according to Felix Perolari, has now taken up bridge. My mother also plays bridge. I can see none of that can be helped, but on the invitation, the one item everybody is going to receive and examine, I insist on making a solo appearance. Catherine, listening on the extension, shakes her head, screws up her face in disgust. Mother, I say, why are you so selfish? I'm not selfish. I'm not selfish. Yvonne, you're not going to start too. You're not going to be like Madame Romero this morning and tell me I have a heart of stone, that everybody in our family has a heart of stone. That's what Madame Romero said this morning. She's gone completely insane, by the way. When I refused to raise her pay to 60 francs an hour cash, she had the goal to see that everyone in the family had a heart of stone, which she knows perfectly well about poor Andre's pacemaker. You haven't even bothered to drop him a line. Yes, that's right. Very funny. Everything's a joke to you. It's not me who's the selfish one, Yvonne. You've still got a lot to learn about life. You go, Tony. Go ahead. Go and see your precious friends.
Then what?